What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Hoshimi Miyabi's character demo, Everlasting Training. I am a bit confused about why it released when it did. It was several hours after they usually release these things, but whatever, it's fine. Either way, I'm really excited to get into this, so I'm not going to belabor things at all. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and let's get into this.
I'm on the train.
Okay.
Alright, I'll do it now.
On a train, going somewhere, presumably. Ooh. Suddenly in a hollow or something? Oh my god, she's using the spoon! Oh, that's great. God. Oh, this looks great! Oh, the first person there was great for a moment. That's a property damage. Oh? Oh, is this more of a simulation training type thing? Or is this actually ethereal type stuff? This feels more simulation. Oh, dark reflection of herself? What the fuck is this fight? What? Oh, I love this style. Oh, and now we're in full animation. They're giving her the full treatment. Who is she fighting? She's fighting the cat. Oh my god, this is amazing. Now it's a giant mech, of course. They're having to just give her fucking every kind of fight all at once.
Communicating with wild beasts is an important part of training. Chief, are you making up imaginary enemies again?
Oh my god, she's doing imaginary training. Hell yeah. Okay, so there isn't gonna necessarily be much for me to analyze here, just because this is essentially one massive fight scene, but I can nonetheless call out some things I really appreciate in this. So first off, from the ending there, we can intuit that everything, including this initial bit, is entirely her own imagination. She's doing weird mental training. That's some fucking Dragon Ball bullshit. But so she's imagining herself on a train, drinking some like coffee or tea or something. The train goes into a tunnel. She's looking out the window, and then suddenly we're in a hollow and there's ethereals attacking. And I like how for these shots we follow the ethereal moving around, suddenly disappearing, reappearing in the window, and then everyone's realizing something's wrong. The ethereals break in, chaos ensues. And then to stop one of the ethereals from killing someone, she uses the little teaspoon she has and tosses it at the thing, knocking it back. Everyone runs, they thank her, and then she does this unnecessarily stylish unsheathing where she just twirls it around a ton and then unsheaths it behind her back, crouching down, ready to just charge forward. And then it's here where I'd actually like to go almost frame by frame for a moment, because I picked up on some interesting details of how they do these shots. So she rushes forward. Everything's relatively blurry because it's just so much motion, but she lands, dips down. Suddenly there's two of her, one continuing forward, the other one leaning almost sideways to the right. And then suddenly they're just moving separately, essentially. The right one slashes at the right ethereal, cutting it down. The other version of her does the same, but if we actually look here, there's this frame where there's the two, the one is slashing, the other one's about to slash. Then this frame, something appears behind the left one. Then this frame, there's both of the two that we saw before as the left one begins to slash, revealing that behind them is a third version of her. The right one disappears, the right one reappears, right one disappears again, as the middle one slashes, the right one reappears, the right and left one disappear, the left one reappears, things clear up and hold for a moment, and then it's just her in the front, the left one reappears, and then it just follows the one for a few frames before she disappears, reappears, disappears again, reappears with another one beneath her, disappears, reappears on the ground, just the one, disappears, reappears. We pull in on her crouched stance, basically preparing to replicate what just happened in the previous shot where she charges forward. But this time we're following alongside her more closely, at least initially. She begins to glow as she jumps forward, disappearing just these marks implying where she once was. She reappears, disappears, reappears, disappears. We change perspectives, and then we're seeing from essentially outside of the train her fighting. Before we get to this next bit, because it's a different perspective, I just want to, having after shown frame by frame what that previous part looks like, play it in full motion to show what it looks like in motion again. It serves to create this really interesting pace where the actual motion isn't necessarily that fast, but the constantly reappearing and disappearing and replication of herself implies extreme speed. She then dashes forward through this. I absolutely love this shot because in frame, she is always staying roughly in the middle, but the way she is moving as well as the moving of our camera frame of the train moving past makes this feel once again like she is moving incredibly quickly. All of this initial portion is just to show how absurdly fast she is. We get this shot that initially isn't necessarily a first-person shot, but then her arm comes into view as she finishes one other slash. She twirls her blade, letting go of it for a moment, catches it, we see a few more ethereals ahead, and then her blade ignites with flame. And what I find really cool about this is clearly 2D drawn painted flame rather than just like CG effects, which makes it have a really cool stylistic appearance. It ignites her whole blade, and then we go out to a different perspective in front of her as she slashes towards the camera, grips her blade in two hands, moving closer to the camera with every frame, and we move into her eye as we then shift perspectives to show her just barreling in this beam of fire past all of the ethereals. We then go to the outside perspective of the train itself, where we see the flames of her slice arcing across the entirety of the thing, making it seem like she might cut the entire thing in half. And it returns to her, all the ethereals defeated as she stands alone. But then, all of the ethereals glitch and morph towards one singular form. And it's here where, in the reaction, I first realized that this is probably some kind of simulation or non-real scenario, given the glitching of them and the dead ethereals reforming into something else. But so they morph into one, she looks around, and then everything changes, the world twisting around her as she enters a new environment. And we pull up to this red and black silhouette of her, a dark reflection as I called it, standing atop nothing but a glitch in reality as the buildings behind her fall. Everything folds in on itself, and then they go to clash. She simply falls backwards into the nothing as they then are fighting just in the air. And it's at this point that though they are holding their cohesion and they are fairly followable, the surroundings distort and become indistinct. And this next sequence here is easily, I think, one of my favorites. I'm not going to go frame by frame, but I am going to slow it down. So we can see here, she actually throws her sword, barely missing as her reflection dodges. She lands, picks up her sword, and then charges forward. Impact frames galore as she continues to fight. Just that little quick, easy to miss sequence of her while they're falling, throwing her sword at her opponent, who barely dodges it, and then she lands and picks up her sword and continues without stopping, is just really cool visually. It adds another level of dynamism to the whole fight other than it just being sword clashes. And then we enter this really interesting style, which is almost paintbrush ink style, I would say is what it's trying to emulate, if not is literally what it is. And we keep the cohesion of being able to tell who's who by having the turquoise blue and the pinkish red bleeding off of the two versions of Miyabi as they just flow masterfully. almost every shot in this is its own fucking painting, and it flows amazingly, and it just serves to make this entire fight suddenly that much more visually distinct. But they continue cutting through trees, clashing, and then at one of the impacts, it shifts to a new style once again, to full traditional anime 2D style. The blades clash, and it's revealed that she is now fighting on a log on the sea against an opponent that, rather than being a reflection of her, is seemingly just another warrior, another samurai type character. There's a storm raging around them as they pause, and then they continue fighting on the log. And it's at the end of this sequence where we follow the man she's fighting as he twists around. We move to focus on his legs. We approach. He swings for a kick. We shift to Miyabi in full shot. His leg comes into the shot once more, but her hand comes to intercept. They use some of the water splashing onto him to serve as some dynamism in the shot as she catches his kick, and then as she moves to push his leg away, they use that as a transition to what is actually happening. She's just stopping a cat from messing with her work. And this is the first time that we see what is actually going on in reality, which is fun. Even just the choreography of this little interaction with the cat, I absolutely love. Just the way that her fingers move to stop it is just really fun and interesting. But then we shift immediately back into the fight with her dark reflection. This time they're on the ground, and then it turns into a mech shooting a massive laser as she just runs forward. As she goes, losing no momentum as she swings out at any obstacles in the way to clear her path. And as she jumps, we change perspectives, the background somewhat indistinct, as she twirls in the air. She lands, twirling still, lands in a crouch stance once again. We move into her eye, we cut to the reflection, whose blade ignites into a roaring flame, and we have this shot of her crouch stance building the energy within her blade as the reflection looms above her, soared over their head, unleashing flames to the sky. And we hold this for a moment before the reflection swings down and Miyabi's blade is completely engulfed in flame. And as we hold that perspective, it shifts between all of her different opponents in all of the different styles, all looming over her, including the cat, which is just sort of amusing. We move into her blade, she pulls it and just eradicates her opponent completely. Then we return to reality, where she's just sort of picked up the cat by the scruff. And she clearly, at some point during this, had changed what she was doing. This is not a short period of time that she was doing this. She has completed multiple tasks while doing this. And then we have Sokaku announcing that both her and Yanagi have returned. And as we show them coming in, they clearly are not at all surprised by what Miyabi was doing and can actually intuit what was going on almost. As Sokaku goes, "Huh? Is today's training to argue with cats?" And then she just playfully starts meowing at the cat. As Miyabi answers, saying, "Communicating with wild beasts is an important part of training," justifying her actions a little bit. But then Yanagi sighs and goes, "Chief, are you making up imaginary enemies again?" As if this is something that has happened plenty of times to the point that it is a pattern, which is very funny. It very much fits for the name of the trailer being Everlasting Training. Every moment of her life, if she is not actually doing training, she is visualizing enemies and battles and scenarios. And in response, all that Miyabi does is cover her mouth with her book and go, meow. Which is so fucking adorable. It is just like the cutest thing. But that is the demo. It's really fun, really straightforward from a narrative standpoint, but visually, it is beautiful. It is a masterclass of visuals. I absolutely love, like, every part of it, but I believe I will leave it there. I think I covered things well enough as I can. So if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts, and I hope you all had a great day. Goodbye.